British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. My name is Gina Tang, and these are your news updates to 1:30 p.m. The bird population in Canada has changed over decades. Some have shown growth while others have declined. Our reporter Vivek Nakra has more on the story.
The British Columbia's coast supports the life of a lot of marine species. This coast is also a major corridor for millions of migratory birds traveling to and from breeding grounds elsewhere in the continent. According to the Rainforest Conservation Foundation, many marine bird species on this coast have seen a decline in last 50 years. There is a large concern about threats to marine birds due to lack of information about them, particularly during seasons other than summer. Vivek Nakra, BCIT's The Crow.
Tree removal at Stanley Park has become a big concern for residents that frequently visit the park. Reporter Tammy Mack tells us why this is for the better.
Stanley Park is in the process of removing dead trees. Earlier this year, the park removed 7,000 dead trees. The second phase of this process was on the park board's meeting agenda last night. The tree removal has been met with concern by residents and those who frequent the park. Brennan Bastiovaski, Park Board Chair, says the process is necessary for a high-traffic park such as Stanley Park. Neglecting to remove the dead trees will mean there may be falling trees at any time, meaning large parts of the park will have to be closed as it will be too dangerous for crews and visitors. Tammy Mack, BCIT's The Crow.
Hundreds of people gathered at separate events in Vancouver last night to mark 1 year since Hamas attacked Israel. Long lines formed outside the Vancouver synagogue. NDP leader David Eby and BC Conservative leader John Rustad, who are past the midpoint in the provincial election campaign, attended the Jewish Community Memorial. Political leaders are condemning what they describe as, quote, hateful rhetoric from a speaker at a pro-Palestinian rally in Vancouver. Chants of, quote, death to Canada, death to the United States, and death to Israel were led by an unidentified masked woman at the Vancouver Art Gallery Monday night. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is denouncing the protests organized by a pro-Palestinian group. He says the group is a popular front for the liberation of Palestine, which is listed as a terror group by Canada. British Columbia NDP leader David Eby responded to a post describing the speech. He says, quote, this kind of hateful rhetoric is wrong and has no place in our province. Conservative leader John Rustad explained his solutions for the toxic drug crisis in the province. He proposed cutting wait times for voluntary treatment, a virtual program to connect people with addiction specialists, and building, quote, regional recovery communities that would allow for 12-month live-in treatment. He says his party plans to hold overdose prevention sites accountable to make sure they are meeting the highest standards.
The next big step, of course, is to make sure that we have treatment to recovery. So we're going to cut wait times for voluntary addiction treatment. No question in my mind, if you are going through treatment and you go through detox, you need to be able to get into recovery. And over the long run, you cannot be waiting. It's just a trap that goes back into addictions.
BC party leaders will participate in televised debate tonight debating the key issues of the provincial election campaign. Canadian border officers in British Columbia made 60 seizures of methamphetamine that was set to export to Australia between March and August. The Canadian Border Services Agency says the seizures totally neared 400 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine. Also, close to 1,300 liters of a liquid form of the drug was destined to be exported. The crystal meth was found in separate seizures at the Tawasin Container Examination Facility, the International Mall Center and International Cargo Operations, and at passenger operation facilities at Vancouver International Airport. The investigation has been handed over to BCRCMP, who will be working with the Australian Federal Police and the Australian Border Force. For your weather, expect overcast skies with light showers and a high of 13 Celsius. Wednesday and Thursday will bring a few showers along with overcast conditions. That was your news up today to 11 o'clock. My name's Gina Tang, and you're listening to BCIT.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettenaro.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon. I'm Grace Miller with your 240 Sports Update. In top sports news, the NHL season opens today. 3 games will break open this year's season, with the first game today underway in Seattle between St. Louis Blues and the Seattle Kraken. Hot off the presses, the Kraken has just named Jordan Eberle as captain. He's the second captain in franchise history, so now every team has a captain. The teams head into the matchup with last year's stats, the Blues winning all 3 games they played against the Kraken. Yet, so far, the betting favorite for the game is Seattle. The Seattle team has made some roster adjustments ahead of the season. Brandon Montour is the new defenseman from last year's Stanley Cup winners, the Florida Panthers. And center Chandler Stevenson is a new addition from Vegas Golden Knights, who won the Cup the previous year. The second game in this season will be between the Utah Hockey Club and Chicago Blackhawks. They will play at 4 p.m. And the Florida Panthers close off the day against the Boston Bruins at 4:30. It is Utah Hockey Club's first ever game. The team was formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes. It is also Clayton Keller's first game as captain for the team. In other hockey news, ahead of their start, the Canucks have made another roster place movement, leading Mark Friedman onto waiver to the AHL. The Canucks will start their season tomorrow against the Calgary Flames. Their game will be in Rogers Arena at 7 p.m. It is also a big day for the WNBA. The Minnesota Lynx will face off against the Connecticut Sun for the final of the semifinals best-of-5 series. The game will be on Lynx home court in the Target Center at 5 p.m., with New York Liberty already set to play in the finals. The game today will decide who gets to go against Liberty. Sun coach Stephanie White shared in a press conference earlier today her motivation for the game.
You know, job's not finished. We got to come back and we got to be able to be even better because we know they're going to make adjustments.
The Sun is going into the game having tied up the series at a 2-game apiece on Sunday. Players to look out for in this game will be Sun player Ty Harris, coming off of a big performance last game. She hit a career-high 20 points and 3 rebounds, and Alyssa Thomas finishing up just shy of a triple-double. Lynx player Nafisa Collier also commented her hopes for the game heading into today.
I think we have to get back to, what got us in this position in the first place, which is our defense. As Coach said, we're not happy with, how we came out the last 2 games. Our offense was able to lift us up last game, but if that's not working, we have to rely on our defense, and it's not been good the last 2 games, so we have to go home and defend our home court. We're both playing for our lives, so we have to play with that level of intensity.
In other basketball news, RJ Barrett will miss the rest of Toronto's Raptors preseason due to an injury. Barrett left Sunday's 125-98 preseason victory over the Washington Wizards in the second quarter with a right shoulder injury. The 24-year-old averaged 20.2 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 3.3 assists over the 58 games last season, split between the Raptors and the New York Knicks. He averaged 21.8 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 4.1 assists, as well as 33.5 minutes across 32 starters for Toronto after being acquired from the Knicks in a trade on December 30th. Toronto will play the Wizards in Washington on Friday in the Raptors' second preseason game. Over to baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies are playing the New York Mets at Citi Field today at 2 p.m. This Game 3 match will be a tiebreaker game for the series. At Petco Park in Los Angeles, the Dodgers and San Diego Padres will also be playing a tie-breaking game. That has been Grace Miller with your sports update.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.